Fired NPR analyst Juan Williams guest hosted on Fox's O'Reilly Factor last night as the media frenzy surrounding his abrupt dismissal continues. And CBS News correspondent Jim Axelrod reports.
Hi, I'm Juan Williams. Just 2 days after being fired from NPR over comments made on Fox about Muslim airline passengers,
I get worried. I get nervous.
Juan Williams defended his views on the O'Reilly Factor, his first appearance after inking a 3-year deal worth nearly $2 million with the cable network.
That somehow I can't do my job. I can't be an analyst because I have been forthcoming.
NPR's decision to fire Williams has sparked a media frenzy, but his firing as an NPR news analyst is drawing criticism from unusual places.
The firing of Juan was a total mistake and sends the wrong message. And NPR, get yourself together.
NPR is now managing a public relations nightmare, especially after its CEO publicly criticized Juan Williams.
His feelings that he expressed on Fox News are really between him and his, psychiatrist or his publicist or take your pick.
Republican South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint said he would introduce legislation to end federal funding for public broadcasters like NPR, saying there's simply no reason to force taxpayers to subsidize a liberal programming they disagree with. Still, Williams believes his dismissal was less about what he said than who he said it to.
They were looking for a reason to get rid of me because I appear on Fox News.
Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
And joining us now is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, who was a guest last night on the O'Reilly Factor, which was hosted by Juan Williams. He's in Phoenix, Arizona. Good morning, Dr. Jasser.
Good morning. It's nice to be with you.
Great to have you. And I want to begin with the original comments that Williams made on Fox. He said that getting on a plane, seeing someone in Muslim garb, that it makes him nervous and fearful. Does that constitute, in your opinion, racial profiling?
Absolutely not. I mean, you have to look at his entire comments in the context of what he was saying. He was being honest about his feelings internally, that there are aspects to the situation of air travel that are fearful to him. And if you look at, for example, let me give you the example of Nidal Hassan. Many of his colleagues at Walter Reed Army Medical Center and in the military were also fearful of the things they had seen him talking about, presenting at presentations, and seeing his dress become more conservative and a little unusual to them. And nobody spoke about it because they were worried about the public ramifications, exactly what happened to Juan, which is somebody gets targeted as a bigot, and it's about prejudice rather than about vigilance. And I think really what Juan did was wake up America to talking, being able to figure out how we can have the skill to talk about these things without offending Muslims. And I can tell you as a Muslim that I have many family members that are dressed conservatively, and it's not only about Muslims, there's Sikhs and others that dress is something we should never target someone for. However, we have to understand that if we're going to treat the problem of radicalization, reports like the NYPD report talked about the fact that conservative fundamentalism is part of the radicalization process that we need to treat.
An episode like this, then, Dr. Jasser, is it beneficial in some respects to Muslims in America to just get this conversation started, or do you think it's more harmful than good?
I can't tell you how beneficial it is because it's when you're treating a disease, it's like a 12-step process. We haven't even gotten down past the first step, which is denial. And these organizations that claim to represent us, like the Council on American Islamic Relations, that really initiated this firestorm. Juan wasn't fired on the night he made the comments or an hour later when it was said. He was fired 2 days later, hours after CARE released their press release saying he should have professional consequences. And I can tell you most American Muslims were not offended. Most American Muslims realize that these groups are soaking up the bandwidth of American attention with obfuscation, with denial, with deflections. But most of us want to address the problems of reform, want to separate mosque and state, and have the conversation to tell America that we want to lead the fight against radical Islam and not just be victim mongers.
So your view would be that most American Muslims would then disagree with the stance taken by the Council on American Islamic Relations, which has come out and attacked Williams for his comments.
I can't, and that's in the conversation I had with Juan last night. That's what I was telling him, is that I hope Americans realize that most of us are starting to really get upset with the fact that these groups are destroying our relationships with the American public. Americans are looking upon us not as part of the solution, but really part of the problem, and that maybe the fear he was starting to talk about was it would only go away when Americans see groups like our organization, and we have an American Islamic Leadership Coalition of other organizations that are really focused on national security, the U.S. Constitution, and diversity within our faith, and that we're not just about demanding rights, but we know we have a responsibility to solve this Muslim problem.
Thank you for being with us, Dr. Jasser. We